Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Zed. Today I'm going to be talking about once more on Ideanomics based on an overwhelming suggestions and requests on it on Twitter. Now, I am not actually pushing on videos for this week for the holidays, but this one is a bonus video. Make sure to drop a like to this video to help this channel grow, subscribe, and leave notifications on. A lot of you folks have watched my videos continuously, but haven't subscribed yet, so please subscribe and leave notifications on. I split this video into a due diligence update and then technical analysis. The technical analysis part is really interesting because there is something we're looking at that looks really bullish. Let's jump right into it. So quickly here, Ideanomics. At this point, if you're not familiar with Ideanomics, there is somewhat of 30 videos or so that you can find starting from the description below. Just a quick insight to who they are. They're not just an EV related company, but they have a whole lot different companies underneath them. Basically, you can think about them as Fintech, as EV brokers, as mortgage solutions, etc. You know, the list goes on. These guys are in business for anything, at least in the future or in the present. So for instance, Dbot here is one of their portfolios, Intelligenta, which is a PAS and SAS solution provider for the financial industry, very similar to PLTR, SAS solutions, but I'm not sure exactly how they qualify one-to-one. Using smart contracts to redefine ownerships, and that is where I'm talking about whether illiquid assets into digital tokens, etc. And this could be somewhat linked as well to cryptocurrency for liquefying. Logistorm, or I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce them, but you get the point. You can read it off the screen. This one here is more technology and smart technology manufacturing in terms of industry manufacturing and supply chains. And then you have the Solectrac, which is 100% company based in North America for tractors and agriculture and utility applications. And then you got Timios, which is providing an unparalleled real estate transaction experience where it comes in towards anywhere from the transactions transparency to helping you get a mortgage, etc. The list goes on. And then Electric, which is based in Malaysia. This is more of an EV for simpler solutions in for smaller vehicles, including in Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, Laos, Singapore, and Brunei. It's more of almost, they're not really just a full-on EV. For instance, they are more of a light vehicles for transportation, as you get to see. Now, the list is a bit bigger than here, because of course you have the Meg Center, for instance. You have as well another one in the US that I'll go in a second. The list goes on. So, quick moving on towards some of the updates. So, we ended up receiving some of the updates here on the Meg Center. And we get to see from July to August, we saw an increase in terms of the taxis and ride-hailing. September, we saw another increase, a really nice one. October, we dropped. November, we're back a little bit on increase. And the thing that is interesting here is for the first time ever, we're actually working with battery systems and charging systems. So that is something exciting where we're actually improving in terms of our numbers and expanding there. So that is something bullish in my perspective. Now, the news itself here, for instance, for the period starting in November 1st, 2020 through November 30th, 2020, Meg delivered a total of 151 vehicles units, all of which were units for the taxi/ride-hailing business segments. Now, remaining 205 units invoiced during the period of July through November 2020 are still pending expected delivery this month. This month's activity also includes delivery of 1 charging system and 13 CATL battery system, which are part of an ongoing order for converting diesel-powered buses to battery electrical vehicles. So that is something interesting. They are working with ongoing orders to convert diesel-powered buses to BEVs. Doesn't that sound very much like FCL? Or sorry, not FCL, my bad. PIC, XL Fleet. And they basically are almost a competitor at this point. Quite interesting to see that expansion, and it definitely does add towards its future. Now, they also have a conference coming up on January 15th, 2021, and now digging into their SEC filing, you get to see a bit here and there, payoffs as well for bonds, notes, paying off a bunch of notes, as well as the payoff to Advantech. So that is something regarding right here. The company entered into a payoff letter with Advantech Capital Investments dated December 18th to pursuant which the company repaid in full amount all remaining obligations. So that is done. They have no obligations to Advantech anymore. So they're off the hook there, and that's good. Now the next things that we're seeing here, of course, we do have with YA, number 2 PN. They've been buying notes and shares all for a while now, going 193, 185, 212, and they are really aggressive. Going on to here as well, 262.5. And that really that just shows me is their trust onto this one. They really trust that this one is going to be bullish, and they're buying notes far off to the future, all the way dated to November 12, 2020, at a price that is very much equivalent to the current price. So I find it to be bullish at this level. Now, what IDEX is doing is not basically throwing out offerings as public shares, which would drop the price of the stock, but rather selling notes, etc., to certain companies, which is fine. Now, the next thing here is on January 15th, and January 8th, and January 19th, first, you have events lined up everywhere here. Now, these ones aren't very much off an insane interest where I'm expecting more of a PR drop to be massive. Perhaps maybe January 8th could be maybe, but in terms of overall, usually we don't hear a lot of news in terms of when it comes in towards these PR drops. It's usually through SEC filings. Now, December numbers, we don't have those yet. The last things we have are November newsletters, October and September, etc. Now, moving on, what we have here is institutional buyers. Virtu Financials LLC have bought around 212,000 shares, and that was on the 11th. So that is definitely still bullish. It has been a while. It's since not last Friday. It's the one before last Friday. So it doesn't look like institutional buyers are touching this actively, but it still definitely looks somewhat alright. Now, the next thing here is we don't see additional added shares, for instance. So that is something interesting, except all the way back in 2015. Although some of them are not reported, but nonetheless, we'll give them a cut on this one. Now, we already covered this Advantech kind of payoff not long ago. And this one here is purchaser to hereby confirms that the aggregate outstanding accrued and unpaid principal, interest, and fees and other obligations owned by the company to the purchaser under the agreement as of December 18th. And basically, they paid off the amount as well for Advantech here in full, which comes out to be around 14.512 million, which is basically, it's the same, by the way, PR, just with more numbers in here. Now coming in next is their valuations. Price over book, it's a little bit double than the market, 37.74 for price over sales. That's massive compared to SP 500, but there has been a lot of changes in terms of the structure on this one. So we'll cut it a slack on here. We'll focus a little bit more on the technical analysis. Now I can go on towards their financials and start digging, but since they have an entire business model revamp, it is a little bit hard to pinpoint exactly a book value on this one based on their financial books from the last 5-6 years. Now, jumping towards technical analysis, on the 1 week perspective, things look a little bit interesting. Moving averages are extremely bullish. Bullish all the way down to 137. Between the 160 and 137, that is the trading action zone, and that is bullish. IDEX shows in a potential for a pullback at this level above 50. That's where things get a little bit interesting. William %R puts this one at not overbought, not oversold, very much closer to oversold, and it's sitting more around the neutral level. MACD looks stable. The signal line and the MACD line looks really bullish, and it's moving forward, and so is momentum. Now, on a 1 day perspective, just to get a little bit more off faster pace here, it looks like it's actually attempting a positive reversal on the MACD, and that's extremely bullish. ADX doesn't show us anything. It was at 52.50 around here, and then it starts seeing a pullback. Now, the willing %R puts this one very close to overbought, which is dangerous, but momentum for the first time ever since the 10th of December is creeping up towards the positive. That is all bullish. Moving averages are thinly bullish. Now, below the 184, they are not bullish anymore on the 10 SMA, the 30 EMA, but still bullish on the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA. So, The chances of a positive reversal here are highly likely. Now, the next thing we're looking at here is the 2-hour perspective. Moving averages for the last two trading days have been looking really, really good. All moving averages are pinpointing upwards, they're in the upward direction, they're climbing and ascending, and that is bullish. IDEX here, what we get to see here is a potential of a trend forming, a strong trend forming at 30.45. So above 30, that is the confirmation of a trend and a potential of a strong trend forming. 1% is somewhere around neutral, and MACD here looks like it's attempting a negative reversal, but on the 1 day, we're attempting a positive reversal, and that one would basically has priority. It's expected on the moving average band to trade for 240 on the top, 219 in the middle, and 197 in the bottom, for the argument's sake. Stochastic fast and stochastic slow. These ones are very interesting because they're both pinpointing saying this one has another leg. There's no more of a warning sign for this one. This is just saying it has another leg up, this has a bullish potential, and basically it is almost mimicking around, I would say, this area here, as you get to see. And compare this one here from the history, and you'll see that the price points here have a massive upside based on the stochastic fast and slow. I didn't just throw everything out, I'm just saying stochastic fast and stochastic slow are looking really bullish. Now, on the Fibonacci retracements, the support currently is a 198, then 133. The current resistances are 251, 304, and 374. Now, if we were to look into the last month and quickly go on with, let's say, 1 hour intervals, we're going to go on and check the current supports and resistance. 212 seems to be the current support, and then below there we're looking at 208. Below there we're looking at $2 sharp, and then we're looking at 191, and then down to 181, and then down to 166. Significant resistances sit at 221, 226, 240, jumping up to 284, and then all the way to 327, 371, and 475. You get to see resistances here are a lot smaller than supports in terms of in terms of the number to quantity. Yet they are far apart, and that gives you a chance of a runoff. Now, Ed, what do you think about this one? It's definitely a tough one to call. But if I was to say a gun to my head, bullish or bearish, I would definitely go on the bullish side. Just because the downside, the dollar mark value has been holding for quite a while. And with all this massive EV mania, they have the trucks coming up as well. And, a lot of talks about this one is going to be producing or manufacturing trucks. For the time being, they're just brokering, by the way. But it has a chance of future, or has shares in companies and interests that manufacture EVs. Even though that's all currently under down the pipeline, nonetheless, in my own expectations is that this one will probably see runoffs in trades. Now, long term, they need to really go on and show solid books for long term. They haven't done that yet. At least not good enough for me to invest in. But in terms of, let's say, 10 years, for all the plans they have, it's definitely looking bullish. Trading, I definitely think you can trade this one and swing it up. The risk here is somewhat moderate. If I would have to count it from 1 to 10 in terms of risk, I would probably say 4 or 5, because penny stocks have risks associated with them, and the price over book is not yet adjusted. But overall, I am fairly bullish about this one. What do you think about the sticker? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like. You have a wonderful day.